When I started in the restaurant business, I had a passion for great food. I also had a lot to learn. Menus, food costs, equipment. I had enough to do without figuring out how credit card interchange rates worked. Well, the good news is it's not that complex. Interchange is the fee that we pay every time we process a credit card or debit transaction. It's a cost of doing business, usually around 2% of the transaction price. Periodically during the year, Visa and MasterCard evaluate their processes, regulations, and fees, and announce rate changes and new fees. And although the card companies set interchange rates, there are steps we can take to avoid paying more than what's absolutely necessary. One effective step is to avoid what's known as a downgrade. That's when a transaction receives a higher rate than the one your business qualified for. Say you enter card data with a keypad instead of swiping, that will cause a downgrade. Now, most of us don't have the time to follow up on why downgrades are being assessed, but here are some tips on how we can avoid downgrades and ensure we're paying the lowest possible rates. For card-present transactions, you should swipe the processing device whenever possible. Don't use the keypad, and get a valid authorization from the terminal or register. Be sure to provide all original electronic authorization information at the time of settlement. Oh, and voice authorizations? Those will cause downgrades. Take the time to settle your transactions daily. Don't let them pile up until the end of the week. I learned that the hard way. If your business gets a lot of commercial traffic, you should order a point-of-sale device that supports the data required to qualify for commercial interchange rates. For card-not-present transactions, make sure the authorization and clearing amount match and obtain an authorization from the terminal or register. Now keep in mind that voice authorizations are not eligible for the qualified rate. Be sure to complete an address verification and enter the customer code or order number that's prompted on the terminal. To receive the interchange qualification and be prompted for the customer code, you'll have to use a terminal that supports card-not-present transactions. And remember, the transaction date must be within 7 days of the authorization date. Be sure to train your employees on the basics in avoiding downgrades. It's also a good idea to take a few minutes each week to observe cashiers, monitor transactions, check equipment, and consider any other actions you can take to avoid downgrades. And by carefully reviewing your merchant processing statements, you'll be in a much better position to take advantage of opportunities to cut interchange costs. So that's how you avoid downgrades and the rate increases that come with them. But how do you get the lowest possible rate in the first place? Start with your credit card processor and the acquiring bank. When you open your merchant account with your bank, the processor determines which rate category is most favorable to you. Rates vary according to the business type, and the processor will make sure that you're placed in the right category at the lowest rate. And at least once a year, you and your processor should review your interchange rate structure to make sure you're still getting the best deal. And finally, always take a close look at the interchange section of your monthly statement. Well, I gotta run. Someone has to cook all these specials, you know.